I will motivate what I started about a year ago. I will point to similar project, because why reinventing the wheel? I will show which route I took. The problems were obvious from the beginning, which I will call impedances. If that's not so, that meaning it's friction between what Salt was developed for and how I'm using it, and the friction between how BitTorrent was developed and how I'm using it. I will present you whatever I have set up in Salt. You really have to stick that into your mouth. Then I will go on to the juicy, difficult part, the issues here I present you already. In fact, I shouldn't. Then you have an opportunity to ask me whatever you want, maybe in that order. So, motivation. It's stupid that you have to put that into... So initially, I'm working for a company called DHL. We sometimes set up laptops. In fact, in Germany, there are like hundreds of thousands of laptops which have to be set up regularly, in the sense of software, not the operating system. I'm concentrating on, we want to put some software onto a particular set, like 400 laptops, which can be small or big software. This takes DHL a number of relay servers. Software is put into relay servers, waiting just to be sent somewhere. And this means you need a day or a week or 6 weeks, depending on how much you pay. This isn't ideal, especially when you have to pay and wait. And this happens. So we have a number of cases where software distribution isn't reliable, is unpredictable generally, which brings everybody who was aware of latest developments to, this is a GitHub page everybody can see. I put it on when I started all that. Peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer is that technology which everybody knows and which seems companies don't use. There have been uses, but I couldn't find something to buy. What I want to have is I want to centrally send around software between clients, minions. No user should be aware, no user should be capable, so we divert from what the classical peer-to-peer is doing. So classically, you sit there, you choose something, you get it. You've done it before. So these are the differences. It must be centrally managed, it must be secure in the sense of tamper-proof. It must not be lightning fast. If it's faster than a week, then it's good. If it's faster than a day, then it's good. So I'm talking about minutes, which is a revolution, which is good enough. I don't really care how performant the peer-to-peer is working, because I'm mostly concerned about the network crushing down. So we have slow pipes in Germany, but in rural areas around the world, you have extremely slow pipes. So DHL is going into any country, even in Taiwan, there are slow lines, pipes, networks. So mainly we don't want to crush the network when we distribute software. So this is the motivation. We found, or I had to see that if you want to centrally declare what is the best relay server worldwide, you need a team to do that, and they will fail. So this is hopeless. You simply cannot know what the local best situation is, except the client itself decides. So this is also why peer-to-peer is the best approach. So I already knew I wanted to have peer-to-peer, and I looked around what is there. Facebook said, yeah, we're using it. Twitter said, yeah, we're using it. That was in 2010. Then there was a company, a Dutch company, which went around and installed it in a Dutch university, and then they put it into a Australian university, and then they disappeared from the market. There's a very, very tiny small company in Germany which seems not to be working anymore. And then there's Microsoft. Microsoft is more and more trying not to use peer-to-peer. It's a very Microsoft approach to the thing. They are doing something and then they said, nah. So it's like they have an eagle and they toast it. It's very interesting, and this gives me the opportunity to do it myself. They have something like peer caching or branch cache. These are like ridiculous realizations of the peer-to-peer idea. So one must really think that I'm working also in a big companies, and you start with a good idea. You go into 3 meetings and you go out like crying. I think this is what's happened in Microsoft. Good for me? Well, not good for the world. We could save a lot of energy by using peer-to-peer. We could just scrap like thousands relay servers around the world. Ourselves only. So, already, maybe I do a short break for comments here. No comments. So what I wanted to do after, so I saw there was nothing. So I said, what do I use to command my peer-to-peer daemon? How I shall call it. So the peer-to-peer client I call the peer-to-peer daemon. Then I looked around and I found Salt to be the best thing around for it. Mostly because of 0MQ. I really am fond of the 0MQ thing below Salt Stack. Have you? Well, will ask a question myself at the end. So that is, but Salt was meant to commandeer servers. Servers are not going into vacations for weeks. So Salt more or less assumes all my minions are online. If it's not online, then you go there and set it on. I cannot do that with a laptop. The laptop is supposed to be on holidays. It's supposed to be down in the evening and so forth. So this is an impedance problem. Also, we have these things have Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi changes IP address. This nothing never happens in a network in a data center. Thank you. So some impedances, and then I found, okay, how do I command laptops, which other people tried to do before me, and I came up with something which I will present you. After I show you my results, maybe that's good for your motivation. So in around March, I used a very low number of clients, and I'm going up to 50 right now. I tried to distribute a gigabyte or 3 GB per hour, and my network administrator were happily looking at their own screens. So you cannot really crush a network with peer-to-peer. Nothing happens. You can do link, Outlook, whatever, you hardly notice. It's a clever technology below the BitTorrent protocol. It's called micro-TP. Difficult stuff. So I thought, yeah, okay, this convinced my superiors. What's happening? I have a shutdown switch. CPU is hardly used, except when you are in VPI, because the VPI client consumes more energy. I don't know why. Maybe it's encrypting again or something. But even 8% is acceptable because you don't notice. It's not 8% which block your machine. It's just 8% for 5 minutes, and then you're 8% you hardly notice. It uses a bit of RAM, so 24 megabyte is something. It's not frightening, but it's something. I have my regular speed is like half a gigabyte in 20 minutes. That's not lightning fast, but important thing is you should not notice, the user should not notice. It's all in web interfaces currently. And I noticed something which is a problem I had resolved with a hard limit, which isn't very elegant, and I have to work on that. So there is work to do to make it a real nice thing still. We have gone like commercial with it. We have sold something, a big software used for route planning. I think it's called Regiograph, but maybe only in Germany. It's a very small number of clients because, well, we wanted to be sure to do it even manually if everything fails. It didn't. We are looking into a new thing which then brings us above the terabyte limit. Yeah. So this is what it's working. I needed something which on the master which waits for the clients to come up, because he could come up and come down. So I thought of states. You put a state into a top file, right? And this is how it looks like. No. Closed it. Sorry. This is great. I don't know where the top file is. Okay, let's imagine that you have a top file which declares what the minion shall have somehow. So I can always recreate my top files according to my needs. I just recreate top files with execution modules in it. So I need execution modules which then command the peer-to-peer client. Do I need that, by the way? It's better. Okay. So I have a state which declares the goal state which the peer-to-peer daemon shall then reach. I'm getting too nervous looking for that. Sorry. It's somewhere, but you know all how a top file looks like. I don't need to show you that really. So this essentially is very, very neat, except that I'm currently not using an active minion. So the minion should could report its progress, and I have tried to do that and I miserably failed. I got something like the salt master was overwhelmed by the feedback, so I stopped completely to talk from the minions back to the master. It's much more safer that the salt master always talks to my minions. Then later, and with more experience, the minions will talk back, but I have miserably failed once. So I found problems. I think now we are, if anybody wants to know, in that presentation. I have to skip the presentation. I can give me like 20 seconds and I will look it up. I have something which is a database, in fact, a very small, nice SQLite database which remembers, do I have talked with that particular minion? Oh, it comes up, good, then send it to the high state. This is something which Salt is missing, and everybody who is using laptops would be interested in. So I would ask you, like everybody here, who would be then interested in developing such a recurring job database for minions which are on and off. You can send me your postcard later. But there are even more problems. It seems like I have reported that to our masters in Utah. When I set a grain like roll, classical grain, like my roll is seed, in fact. And then I send something which a file recurs to that minion. It forgets my grain. It just disappears. It goes back into the into history. I don't know why. This is, in fact, a consistency problem, a grave consistency problem, which is going on for a month, and there does not seem to be any solution. So my solution is to not use grains, which is a pity. But I cannot. They come back from the future. It's no good if I save a variable and then I say I equals 5 and then I equals 10. I must rely that I equals 10 from then on forth. I cannot, so I cannot use grains. I don't know why it's happening only on Windows or it's happening to everybody. It's very unreassuring that you can read in the wonderful Salt book that you should not update your grains too often. Like too often what? In a second or in a day or... when I want to send events, I'm still struggling with that. I cannot use salt call. You may have noticed that at least a Windows machine goes up to 25% CPU for the next 2 seconds. I cannot do that. More problems. My execution modules, neatly called P2P, disappears, gone. I don't know when, I don't know where, it's just disappearing, and then I have to recreate it. Embarrassing. The same reason is that then the salt never returns. If it has no execution module, then it's kind of confused. But the root problem is that the directory is just empty, doesn't even exist, disappears. So another consistency problem, by the way. What I also would like to ask myself is, I'm getting more and more curious about Jenkins. Jenkins does not seem to run too regularly, too often in Utah, maybe hardly at all. So I would like to help. I updated to 2015 8 something, 5 or so, and gone were my node groups. That's a pity. I didn't really have to use node groups, so I don't have to roll back, but this shows me that Jenkins is not running in Utah. Many things will run in Utah, but not Jenkins, or not Jenkins on node groups, because I must have noticed that. They wouldn't have released 5.8. And I still have to research that a little bit, and then I will open an issue. You may not use hidden files on Windows. I don't need to use them. In fact, I won't. But if you use them, then havoc. So don't use Windows hidden files. In fact, they're stupid in the first place, but Salt simply cannot deal with them. Comment section? Good. Yeah, I would love to discuss that with more senior stuff in my company, but I already know how that ends. By the way, I'm not too badly. That's a given fact. I have other P2P related problems, which I only go into details if somebody cares. And then I will even go more into the Windows side of Salt. There is a small community. I think it's like 10% of Salt users are using Windows, Salt on Windows. How many of you use Salt on Windows? Like hands up, like in zero. Interesting. Okay, sorry. What else can I say? Then I can skip all the Windows-related things.
There's no keyring on Windows.
Yes, I'm working on Unix mostly of the time. I also prefer personally Windows. I use a non-graphical interface and Subversion. And there is the possibility to store a password in the GNOME keyring, and theoretically Subversion can use that. But I cannot find a person who can show me how. If you're that person, you like beer forever. Like that's a problem. I have to solve. Yeah. Like yeah. So if nobody of you is actually using, you could use Mac laptops, which go on and off. So still somebody would be interested in that thing I called wheel. It's not a perfect name because wheel has a significance in Python. So maybe you call that a motor or something. So this is keeping the. I have something to show for you. So this is a wonderful web interface. So when my a little bit bigger, when my target configuration, the nice thing is I only have to say high state for everybody. So everybody is all my 30 minions around, or 50 or 400 or whatever, and for each of them it's something different. In this case not, but you could think that for each minion there's another payload. I call them payloads. And so this I need to just in an interval call my minions. Who else of you was in need of in an interval calling minions? Like you? Ah, you do. Oh, interesting. So good. That's 1 out of 20. That's so this is how it looks. You see that everybody who is near 100% then disappears because I only want to know who has to do something. This is a very satisfying view for me. I did that this morning. I don't think I'm going into a live presentation. I could, but more questions. Good. Well, then I wanted to, I've even showed you the issues and the to-dos. Who wants to see the top file? Good. Well, then I'm roughly through with it. And yeah, the plannings are to go to more software, more and more software. We even have one of my superiors even wants to distribute the virus pattern with it, or the Windows update. Windows 10 can do Windows updates with peer-to-peer. So you may have noted that at home. I don't have Windows 10 at home, but the Vesus thing works with peer-to-peer in Windows 10, maybe, but only the Windows, not any software you want. So I still see a future. And the big advantage is, of course, I save network. I said that already. So thank you for your attention.